So the final step in our Flappy Bird game is to replace our sort of white boxing sprites with some game art and then animate our bird. So in my sprites folder, you can see that I've added some game art here. I've got a ball and a bat. Now my ball actually has two images in it that we're going to use to animate that ball. And if I click on that asset here, you can see that under my sprite mode, it defaults to being single. But because I have multiple images in this one file, I'm going to change that to multiple and then come down here and click on my sprite editor. Okay? And in my sprite editor, that's going to come up here. I want to select these as two different images. So in my drop down here, you can see I've got some choices here, and I can come into here and choose automatic center delete existing. I'm going to click the button that says slice. Okay. Now you're going to see that it tries to slice the best that it can. It's probably good enough, but you can also come in here and you can click on these. Let's say if I want to make an adjustment on to that guy right there, I can do that. Okay, and you can see that this is going to be defaulted to be Flappy Ball _0, and this is Flappy Ball _1. Okay, and I can, if I want them to be exactly the same, I can have that, and you make sure you click on the apply button. Okay, and that actually slices up my sprite. I'm going to close the sprite editor now. If I come down to this little arrow, you'll see that I have these two sprites in here now. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this sprite here and I'm going to set it to my player. So here's my player, and then under my sprite renderer right now we just had that rectangle or the triangle. I'm just going to drag that over to player, and that will now become my sprite. And I think in my case it could probably be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to scale that up. Okay, so that'll, oops, let's go back into there. Let's make sure we scale on both the X and the Y so it's not stretched. Okay, let's do the same thing to my bat. So I'm going to have my obstacle here. See, I actually don't have obstacle in here. Let me go down to my obstacle prefab here and then open my prefab, and I have the obstacle in here. So now I can click on this bat and I can put it into here, and I can do the same thing with my other obstacle and put in the bat. Okay, now obviously I want this bat to be turned upside down, so let's go to rotation on that, and in the X rotation let's put 180. And I feel like these are a little bit, long. I would like to maybe see them be, maybe looking a little bit more like that. And if you get them set to how you want, you can always just look at these values here. Let's say I want this to be 1.5 and maybe 2.5. If I like that, then I can click on the other one and do the same thing. So those are the same. Okay, and I might want to have these. I notice that my box colliders are way off, so I can go under my box collider and hit Edit Collider. And let's set those colliders to be, oops. Let's set those colliders to be right, maybe. Just around that, especially on this left-hand edge. Let's make sure that that's where it wants to be, so that when my sprite hits it, let me make sure that I maybe move this over. And again, we can make this be like 5. And again, let's add the collider on this one. So just once you get your game art in here, take a moment to get your colliders right, otherwise it's not going to work correctly in your game. So let's get this moved over a little bit. I'll put that to 5. Okay, what's my score collider look like? It needs to be in the middle of the two. And again, you can adjust these things as needed depending on the gap that you want, but that's the idea. Okay, so now we have our game art replaced. Let's go back here into our game, and let's just take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so some things I can do to adjust here. One is on my player object, has this rotation in here. I no longer need that. Set that back to 0. And then in my collider here, I have a polygon collider. Let's remove that, and let's set in, for my case, a circle collider would be better. Okay. All right, let's see what that looks like. So I'm getting my score. And you can, again, now is a good time to test what's your speed, what's the collision look like. Okay, and you can make adjustments based on that. So the next thing we want to do is we just want our bird to flap. It's going to flap continuously. It's not going to flap when we click on it. It's going to be super simple. It's just going to be a nice little loop. And in here we have to create animation. So to get started with animation, let's go up to Window and go down to Animation, and we'll choose Animation. Now I like to bring this window down and dock it, if I can, at the bottom of my screen. So you can maybe dock it into here, and you can see how that's going to look. So you can kind of play around with that. So it says we don't have any animation. I want to make sure that I have my player object selected, and then click on Create. Now it's going to ask me to save this animation. Let's just call it Flap Animation, something like that. And I get this timeline in here. So for me, I just want to come into my project here. Let me just bring this out here so I can work. I want to bring in these sprites here. So if I drag this image down onto this layer, it creates this diamond, which is a keyframe. And if you expand over here, there's a little triangle, you'll be able to see that. And then that's my first one, and then I'm going to drag my second one down to like here. You can actually even press the play button, and you can see it on your player what's going on. You can see what you want that to be. If you want that to be a slower animation, move that out, and it'll just kind of flap. And so that's kind of a preference on how you want that to look. And we are just going to have this guy. Oh, that's one thing I did. I didn't stop playing, so my animation didn't save. So let's go back through that process again. Okay, so let's bring this down into here. Okay, so now as I play my game, now what's going on is it's just not flapping, it's not holding on the flap. So what I probably want to do here is let's bring this back here, I need to bring this other one down. Let me see, into here. Let me can I make that a little bit bigger? Make sure I'm on my player here. Let me see if I can zoom out and grab this one again. So it's going to hold on there a little bit longer. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, he's flapping. Okay, it's just a basic animation that just runs constantly. Start the game over. That's it. You can adjust how these things look to make your game more exciting, faster, slower. Okay, good luck. Have fun with your Flappy Bird game.